bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game.
Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
All right, welcome. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man, today's Monday, September 18th, 261 days into the new year, just 104 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. That's right, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? It's Monday. Monday. You know what Monday means, man. It means another great week of Fade to Black right here. KJCR. KGRA, the Planet. Let's do this. All right. Let's set the tone for the week. Tonight, very special guest Dale Harder is here. And we're going to discuss his 45 years of UFO research and Pleiadien contact. That's right. Tomorrow night, Damon T. Barry, the man with the voice, the pipes, and director of the Forever Time film series, the knowledge of the Forever Time film series. He's back because part 8 of the installment is out. The film series is complete, and we've got Damon T. Barry here tomorrow night to talk all about that and his message to all of us. Wednesday night, Sharon Rose is here, another first-time guest, for an Egypt to India Divine Feminine History lesson. That is going to be Wednesday night. Cannot wait. Oh, man, I just cannot wait for that. Sharon is absolutely amazing, and nothing like tonight and Wednesday, first-time guest. Love it. That's what this show is about. All right, Thursday is another Fader Night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom live. And then this weekend, it doesn't stop there, folks. Nope, kiddies, I'll be over at Coast to Coast AM Friday night sitting in for George Norrie, open lines, and my guest will be Dane Wigington. And with everything that is going on with the weather right now, we had Dane on Fade to Black last week, and after everything that has transpired since Irma, right, it hasn't stopped. Got to have Dane back over for an update over on Coast to Coast, followed by Open Lines. And Saturday night, Coast will make the announcement of the next week's guest on Thursday. So Thursday night, I will announce who my guest is. I can't preempt Coast to Coast, right? It's their way of doing things. They make the announcements on Thursday. So I'll announce that on Thursday. Got to be cool. You got to be cool. The call-in numbers are 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695 for all of you first-time listeners right now to the show that are listening live. Follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you want to do at JChurchRadio. Follow us there. And then hashtag F2B on Twitter is the sandbox. There's going to be a couple of thousand tweets that are going to go down tonight. Couple of hundred conversations inside of those tweets. Come over and hang out with us and join interactively in real time with the show. For those of you that are watching me on the bunker cam right now, welcome. And you can see Twitter is live right here. I have the chat rooms live over there. And so everything is go. We have chat rooms with KGRA, chat rooms on Spreaker. And so there you go. You can participate in real time, have conversations, the Fadernauts. Everything is so cool with this show live in real time. It's all interactive. Any questions or comments during the show tonight or any other night, please use hashtag F2BQ. It's that simple, hashtag F2BQ. I just retweeted, TalkStream Live has a paranormal radio app, and I just retweeted that. You can go and check that out too. It's over at the iTunes store, and I believe it's over in Google. And there you go. So it's retweeted, and you can go and click on those links and check it out. So all of the live paranormal shows that are going on, you can listen to live, which means right now, the only live, the best live paranormal show going on right now is Fade to Black. So no matter where you are in the world and you're away from your computer, download that on your phone. Boom, you're done. Fade to Black will always be with you. Okay? All right. Don't forget to email throughout the show. Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Jimmy at jimmychurchradio.com. Okay. All right. It's good to be back in the chair. It is Monday. We had a very busy weekend, Rita and myself. We've got a lot of exciting projects going on, and we worked on them all weekend long. And hopefully, over the next month or two, we will have some pretty stratospheric announcements that we will be making right here on Fade to Black. And very excited. Rita is working very, very, very hard. Very hard. No gray hair yet, but she's working on it. All right. So hopefully we'll have some really cool announcements for all of you Fadernauts very soon. Okay. Now, breaking news. I've got to get to this because it's shocking. It's unbelievable to me, which is this. Hurricane Maria is now being labeled catastrophic. It is now a Category 5 hurricane, packing 160-mile-an-hour winds sustained with higher gusts. That is incredible. After Irma, and after Harvey, you just didn't think that this was possible. Certainly back to back to back, right? We've got Jose going on in the North Atlantic, potentially hitting the east coast of the United States. That's going down too as well. Labeled, I think it's a tropical storm / Category 1. I don't think it's busted Category 2 yet, but it's up there cruising and heading towards the northeast. And it's crazy. Right now, during this show tonight, Maria is going to make landfall on Dominica. 75,000 people live there. And I'm talking directly over the island. And then it's going to continue heading west straight towards Puerto Rico. The Hurricane Center statement said that Maria was centered about 35 miles southeast of Dominica. That was right before showtime tonight, and is 55 miles northeast of Martinique. The storm is moving west-northwest at 9 miles per hour. Now, this is for the first time in 85 years that Puerto Rico is expected to suffer a direct hit from a hurricane of this strength. Puerto Rico's governor has declared a state of emergency ahead of that landfall, which will likely happen on Wednesday. Unbelievable. Now, are these storms engineered? Are they being directed? Are there energy waves? Is there something going on? It's just something crazy and evil. I don't know. Does global warming have anything to do with the strength and the frequency of these storms right now? I don't know. It seems like we haven't had hurricanes, and so it's crazy. But to have all of this occur back to back to back to back, I find extremely interesting, and I want answers. I think we all do. And if Maria, heaven forbid, but if it stays on this track, could it reach Florida again? I mean, really? Never in my lifetime. Don't anybody say, I remember when this. No. Harvey, Irma, Jose, Maria in a month? A month. I'm just saying. Questions, right? Now, I have been in contact with quite a few of our friends that are in Florida that are literally just trying to collect their thoughts and get their lives back together. And they're all telling me the same thing throughout the day today. Here we go. Now we're getting ready for Maria. And I just can't imagine going through this. I just can't. I can't. I remember going through 2 earthquakes back in 87, 88, whenever that happened. And when I was in Pasadena, and when that went down, we had one quake, and it was big, right? Destroyed the apartment that we were living in Pasadena. It was like 4 days later, an equally large quake came through, and it was just horrifying. It's not fair. So anyway, I want answers with all of this, and maybe it's just Mother Nature. Maybe it is. Okay, just maybe. But why? That's the thing. Why? Could we have done something about it? Is it too late to do anything about it? It's absolutely fascinating. Fascinating what is going on right now. Let's get the show cracking. Today, happy birthday to actor James Marsden. Today is 44. Of course, he was Cyclops in the X-Men films. He was in Superman Returns, pretty good in that. And also the HBO series Westworld. When is Westworld coming back? Man, when's it coming back? Great cliffhanger with the end of the first series. Great cliffhanger, by the way. So what is going on with Westworld? When is it coming back? And just great. The original film was so good. Great. It was a great film that I wondered about the series, right? Could the series really hold up to that? And normally, the answer, no. But Westworld, the series, is great. Great ending. So I'm wondering when Season 2 is going to kick off here. Our dead guy's birthday today is James Gandolfini, 1961 to 2013, died at the tender young age of 51. Of course, for always and forever, Tony Soprano on The Sopranos, which won 21 Emmy Awards, by the way. But for me, and he was great as Tony Soprano, but for me, he stunned me with his performance in True Romance. Remember that? What was that? The Safari Motor Inn or whatever that was in Hollywood. Oh, man. All right. Gandolfini died at the age of 51 in Rome, Italy. He was over there. He was getting an award, and he was with his family and died, collapsed in his bathroom, and was found by his son and had a heart attack on June 19th, 2013. Happy birthday, Tony Soprano, James Gandolfini. On this day in history, OTD, 1973, it went down. And if you don't think something like this ever went down, it did. Because on this day in 1973, future President Jimmy Carter, 3 years before the 76 elections, in 1973, he filed a report with the National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, otherwise known as NICAP, claiming he had seen an unidentified flying object in October of 1969. Now, during the presidential campaign of 1976, Carter was telling everyone that he had seen a UFO. He described waiting outside for a Lions Club meeting in Leary, Georgia, when he spotted what he called the darndest thing I've ever seen up in the sky. Carter, as well as 10 to 12 other people who witnessed the same event, described the object as very bright with changing colors, about the size of the moon. He reported that it was about 30 degrees above the horizon, and it came closer and then went back out and disappeared into the distance. He later told a reporter that the experience, that after that, he had vowed never to ridicule anyone who had claimed to have seen a UFO. Now, during the presidential campaign of 1976, Carter promised everybody that if he was elected president, he would encourage the government to release every piece of information about UFOs that were available, release them to the public and to scientists. But then he wins the presidency. And then he backed up. And later he said he decided not to do it because the information would have defense implications and pose a threat to national security. That's right. On this day in 1973. Fader fact. This is a fader fact. This is vetted. Astronauts do not snore in space. That's right. Because of microgravity, the tongue and the jaw do not fall back in the throat. They just float there. Therefore, astronauts do not snore in space. That's a fact. All right, tonight, very special guest Dale Harder is here. We're going to talk about his 45 years of UFO research and Pleiadian contact. Tomorrow, Damon T. Barry is going to be here, the director of the Knowledge of the Forever Time. Wednesday night, Sharon Rose. We're going to be discussing everything from ancient Egypt to ancient India and the divine feminine, a full-on history lesson right here on Fade to Black. Thursday night's another Fader night with John Rappaport and his No More Fake Newsroom Live, followed by Open Lines. And then Friday and Saturday, I am over hosting Coast to Coast AM. All right. Now, I've done very little commenting on this next thing that I think finally needs to be talked about and in the open, and it's this. How good Fade to Black blend is by River Moon Coffee. Oh, did I just say that? All right. Don't forget all of our sponsors, by the way. Oh, have you guys seen? Look at this. Have you seen my sacred skull? Look at that thing. I'm going to wear it. I'm going to wear it for the show tonight. I feel like I need to wear it. So let's just put this thing on right now. Judy Kyle, Sacred Skulls. Go get yours right now, sacredskulls.com. The links are over at Jimmy Church Radio. All right. Today was the putting on hold of the career, the very curious career of author, prophet, psychic, Sean David Morton. Because he was sentenced in San Bernardino, California, both he and his wife. And Greg Bishop of Radio Misterioso and UFO Watchdog reported today that Sean David Morton was sentenced today to 72 months in prison. And his wife, Melissa, sentenced to 24 months. And it was for their part in a tax scheme, a large one, which he was found guilty of falsifying tax documents, filing false tax returns, and well, the bottom line was he defrauded the IRS out of nearly $500,000. He got a check in the mail, a tax return, a check for whatever, almost $500,000, and looked at the check, held it in his hand, and then decided to cash it. Now, I just want to be clear here. No matter what you feel about the government or the IRS, and the IRS may be the most evil thing in the history of the known world, and I get that, I understand. But no matter what your feelings are about the feds or the IRS, if you have a check in your hand for $500,000 and you know it ain't your money, you don't cash it. We all know right from wrong. We do. We really, really, if we don't know right from wrong, then we shouldn't be out in the public. But if we do know right from wrong, and we have our faculties about us, holding a check for $500,000 in your hand that you know is not yours, you don't cash it. And if you do, that is a decision that you make as an adult. Nobody is forcing you. You make the decision on your own. And he made that decision. The complications with the case and how many charges were there and what the bottom line is you don't cash a check. That's $500,000. That's not yours. He did. He got caught. Okay. And he and his wife, and again, they have been found guilty on this. Normally, I would say allegedly, but they did. They tried to hide the funds. They split it up. They took out $70,000 in cash, kept that, split up the rest of the money, put it in a bunch of different accounts, and tried to flush it. And then when the IRS asked for the money back, they said no. The IRS literally said, we want the money back. And they said, no, come get us. Well, Okay. They did. And it's $500,000. And they were warned. They were busted back in 2010. It went down there. I mean, and so the bottom line is they were officially sentenced today, and that's if they're going to prison. But I have been silent on this whole thing. First off, innocent until proven guilty. Well, okay, found guilty, sentenced, convicted, done, and on their way to the big house. I don't wish prison on anybody. This is a non-violent crime. Okay, it's a non-violent crime. And prison sucks. It absolutely sucks. So I don't wish it on anybody. All I'm saying in this case is sometimes you bring things onto yourself. You go and you cash a check for $500,000 hoping you're going to get away with it, and you don't. Well, you get caught. That's the end of the story. But there's a couple of other things about Sean that kind of need to be said here. Okay, today I went and watched a video on the conspiracy cruise. And it was actually an excellent video, by the way, and well presented. But in this video, Sean is sitting there, and this is what he says publicly out of his own mouth. He says that he went to Stanford, that he went to Oxford, that he's a doctor. And I think he even said there's another university there, like MIT. I didn't write it down. I didn't transcribe it. But you know, I don't know. It doesn't even matter. And then he says that he's an award-winning director and a screenwriter, right? And so I stopped right there, and I just did a little cursory investigation on the net just to check out. And there's no record of anything. There's no IMDb page. There's no award-winning director of anything anywhere. There's no screenwriting credits of anything. So that you need to be careful what you say in public. Everything can be researched. And I've never checked out Sean. I've never hung out with him or anything like that. I've been around him a few times, but that's it, right? And so anyway, but then he said this in this video. He said that he has the largest internet radio station in the world. Now, hold on a minute here. Pump the brakes. You need to stop, with that. Now he's in prison. But you can't say things like that. There are part of your audience. There are people that are following you that listen to that and go, man, he's the greatest. He's the biggest. He's this. He's that. All right. Okay, fine. I can't change what people think. But me, I'm a black and white numbers guy. I'm a black and white numbers guy. If you are going to say you have the largest internet radio show in the world, you need to be very careful with that. Very, very careful. So it's very easy to go and check out a few things. Where's his website ranking for his website? If he has the number one internet radio show in the world, that means, and it's quite simply, that you have revenue that is godlike. You must have in your driveway 7 different colored Lamborghinis, one for each day of the week, because you have all of the advertisers begging to come and get onto your show. And I'm talking about Coca-Cola, Verizon, General Motors, Budweiser, right? Everybody, Apple, everybody wants part of it because you have the largest internet radio show in the world. You are one of the most influential people in the world. That's what that means when you say something like that. That is a crazy thing. So you go and you look up, it's easy to check. Go look at his website. Go look at the ranking. I don't know what it is. I don't remember. It was something like 12 million. You know what 12 million ranking worldwide means? It means you have maybe one person a day going to that website. One. You have the largest radio broadcast in the world. So go and look. Who is the network? Who is the syndication? It's got to be somebody big. It's got to be huge. It's got to be a household name. Not only that, if you have the largest internet radio show in the world, that means your influence is so strong, you must be every day on one of the major media outlets. They're talking about you because every time you speak, people react. You must have the largest internet radio show in the world. You must have 5 million Twitter followers, 10 million, the largest. The largest. These are things that, so when you take all of this in totality, you have to wonder what's really going on here. Okay? All of the things that he has said about himself, and then he has turned around and defrauded the government and been convicted of that. what do we depend on here? And what upsets me with all of this is our community is represented by a guy like that. And so it gives the fuel. It gives the wood to throw on the fire for everybody else going, that's what this community is about. That guy right there, convicted, cashed a $500,000 check. He's a prophet. He's a psychic. He's this. He's that. He went to Oxford and MIT and well, I don't know, Stanford. And he's a doctor claiming screen credits and the largest show in the world, and it's all BS. And so for us, that's the black eye, and that's what makes me upset. He's never been a guest on this show, so I have that going for me, right? But it's everybody else, and it allows them to go, look, this is why that community is crazy, because they're represented by this. It's all fictitious. It's not true. And it's sad. We have so many great researchers, so many people that are out there really doing the real research, really going to Giza, really going to Bolivia and Peru and North America and digging under things and photographing stuff in the sky and scientific research and doing everything that they can to collect information and present it. We have all of that. And then we have a guy like Sean, quite frankly, when I watch this little 3-minute clip, I'm like, that's what people see. They don't see all the other hard work. The Graham Hancocks of the world that are out there really doing it. And I do my best every single day to make sure that we have fun with this show. We're honest with this show. Anybody can go and check our numbers. When we say something, go and check. Go and check. The numbers are all public. They're all there. They're there for the world to see. I am proud of what we have done here. Our sponsors on this show are able to not only help us support the show, but they support the show because we have such a large audience that go back and visit our sponsors. That's what advertising is about. So it all speaks for itself. If we didn't have the large audience, we wouldn't have the sponsors, and our sponsors wouldn't be able to support the show. It all goes in a big circle. And that's our community. And it just kills me that this went down. It's unfortunate that he got caught and he went to prison. Melissa got taken down for the count. I doubt that she would have done any of this if it wasn't for his influence. And now she's spending 2 years in a federal pen. And if they could go back and do it all differently, I'm sure that they would. Now they've got time to go and, quite frankly, think about this and how they represented all of us and lied to us and the rest of the world. And that's it. I have held back in speaking about this, but our community just needs everything that it can to be represented correctly. And I mean that. And that's why I love this audience. I love all of you. That's why this show has integrity and will continue to do just that. All right, now let's get out of here. Why? Dale Harder is here. 45 years of UFO research and a first-time guest right here on Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Let's do this, man. It's Monday. Dale Harder, he's next. Everybody stay with us on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. Let's wind the clocks back 60 years. Food was different. Food provided health and nutrition, and using supplements was minimal. Unfortunately, now we have chemicals, GMOs, herbicides, and pesticides that can be quite lethal in the name of our food supply and, of course, the ever-loving dollar. Supplementing our diets can be very important to stay healthy. Cleansing from daily intruders to the body might be critical. Live strong and take charge. Log on to getthetea.com. Our herbal tea is a great way to cleanse from intruders. Our supplements is a great way to maintain and improve your health. When your health is not up to par, go to getthetea.com. No GMOs, no fillers, and organic, and very helpful in keeping you at the top of your game. Life is too short to feel, you know what I mean. Stay in the game, at the top of your game with getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Again, getthetea.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Fade to Black, Monday. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, the planet. You can follow me on Twitter right now at JChurchRadio. Very simple, at JChurchRadio. I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, Damon T. Barry is here. He is the director of The Knowledge of the Forever Time. The film series has been completed, so we're going to talk about that tomorrow night. Wednesday night, Sharon Rose is going to be here. We're going to go for an entire evening of Egypt to India and divine feminine history. That will be Wednesday night. Thursday night's another Fader night with John Rappaport, and there's no more Fake Newsroom live, followed by open lines all night long. Then Friday, I'm over at Coast to Coast AM, sitting in for George Norrie. My guest will be Dane Wigington. And then, of course, I'm over there Saturday night as well. We'll make the announcement of those guests on Thursday. The call-in numbers are 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. Tonight, our guest is Dale Harder. Dale worked with NASA at the Lewis Research Center for 12 years as an engineer and a metrologist. Also worked on the Space Shuttle at the Kennedy Space Center and trained in Houston, Texas. After NASA, Dale went to work for Honeywell Aerospace in 1997 as a radar specialist and a metrologist. And today, he owns two businesses, HHR Lasers, Inc. and HHR Exotic Speakers. Now, he has been in the UFO field for more than 45 years, and he has had regular visitations by E.T. craft. He is an officer for the Cleveland Ufology Project, CUP, the oldest UFO club and MUFON group in the world. He is also an experiencer and has worked with most of the known names in ufology. Now, tonight, we're going to discuss his contact, his sightings, and the Pleiadien craft that he has been researching for the last 45 years. And I cannot wait for this conversation. I love a first-time guest, and I would like to welcome, for the first time to Fade to Black, Dale Harder. Dale, good evening. How are you?
Hello, Jimmy. How are you?
I am. What? No, I asked you first. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
And I am wonderful, too, and the honor is all mine. And before we get started, Dale, you get the first-time guest disclaimer. So let's get that out of the way, which is this. It's you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. Where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, but we're going to end as friends. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, let's actually, 45 years on a 3-hour broadcast is going to be tough to do, but we're going to try to squeeze all of this in tonight. So let's back up. When we use that word 45 years, before we go back to your childhood, what happened 45 years ago? What was that epiphany that caused this right-hand turn to take you down this road in life?
Well, the 45 years is probably more toward the actual study of UFOs and the phenomena and so forth, although I have been exposed to and been seeing and experienced ETs and ET craft since I was a very young child of about 5 years of age.
All of this in Ohio?
Some in Tennessee, where I grew up. Spent most of my formative years in Tennessee with my grandparents and family, and also here in the Cleveland, Ohio area, yes.
Okay, so then that's a good place to start then. What city in Tennessee?
It's called Huntington. It was a relatively small town, only a few thousand people, and even today it's still only 3,500 people or so.
And what part of the state is Huntington?
It is in the northwest corner. It's actually about 25 miles from what's called Paris, Tennessee, the largest city closest there, or Jackson, Tennessee, which is also about 30 miles. And that would be 110 miles north of Memphis.
Right. That's what I thought. Okay. I lived in Memphis for a while. And, yeah, so I know the west side of Tennessee pretty well. And you can drive up and down the river there and hit all of these cities that go up and down the Mississippi.
It's a beautiful little city, beautiful place. It was a great place to grow up.
So you had contact there then in Huntington?
I've had them all my life, yes.
Okay, so...
Didn't really know exactly what it meant as a child.
Right.
But I can recall one of my earliest contacts, and I was probably between 6 and 7 years of age. And that actually occurred in Columbia Station, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Children back then actually had what they called little jobs and things, and they actually got weekly allowances.
Yeah, I remember those days.
Yeah, we used to do the dishes and take out the garbage and, feed the dog and what have you, and maybe cut the grass or things like that. And, so we'd get our 50 cents a week kind of thing, which was a big deal back then.
Yep.
But it taught us responsibilities and so forth. And one of my things was basically to try and cut the grass. We had a pretty big yard. And my father had 2 of those old rotary-style lawnmowers.
Right.
That he'd acquired. You know the type with the rotary blade that twists?
I have one now. I still have one now. Yeah, push mower.
Yeah, and they do a fine job of cutting, and they use them on greens and things like that. Well, he had 2 of those. One was a smaller unit, and the bigger one somebody had modified and put a 5-horsepower Briggs & Stratton engine on. And, at least I think it was Briggs & Stratton. But at any rate, so that thing was a real get up and go. You'd pull a cord on that thing, and that thing would take off and run with you.
Right.
So I used a smaller one, and it was a beautiful summer day. I was outside messing with this mower, trying to push it up and down the yard, and there were hardly any clouds or anything in the sky, as I recall. It was perfectly blue and beautiful day. And I'm pushing the motor, and I had this funny feeling. And I'm looking all around. I kind of felt like I was being watched, but I didn't know what it was. And I decided to look up. As I did, I noticed there were 3 silver discs positioned in an equilateral triangle, one at each point. And as I moved the lawnmower, they would move with me. And then I'd stop and they'd stop. So this went on for some time. But I never thought anything of it. You know, it didn't bother me, didn't freak me out. It wasn't anything. It was like, oh, okay, cool. And I went about my job, and then eventually they left, you know, and that's all I recall of that event. But things like that happened. And so it's been fun all along, ever since then.
Well, did you have any idea, you know, and was it consistent?
Any idea that something was going on?
Right.
You know, when I would, to start the story, to actually get into the idea of the UFO research and how I fit into it, I will, you know, come right out and say, and I don't say this lightly, but I am what we would call a Pleiadien hybrid. And I actually volunteered to come to this planet and to serve. And I have memories of that when I was born, at least as I, you know, in that young age. And, you know, so I knew where I'd come from and why. And when I was born, I was actually left at the Catholic Charities mission. I was about 3 months of age, left in my little basket, and I had a little note with me that said that my name was David Larry. I had no last name, and that I was to be given goat's milk because I was allergic to regular milk. And basically there was little more known about me. Well, I was fortunate that the parents that I got, you know, truly wanted children. They were recently married. My mother had a hysterectomy almost 9 months after they were married, and unfortunately could not have children, and it devastated them. And they came to the Catholic Charities, took one look at me, and my father, I just recounted this with him. He said he picked me up and held me, he said, and I put my head down on him, and I instantly went to sleep, and my dad said, this is the one. So I got lucky, I got adopted.
You know, it's
and they
funny.
treated me wonderfully my whole life. And they knew that I was different from day one.
That's what I was just going to say. I can, you know, almost picture your dad going, you know what, I'll take the alien kid.
If he had only known.
Right. Now,
he had only known. Yeah, you know, and then I came in, and like I said, I had, what is so unusual for me is that I had a head full of knowledge. The knowledge essentially that I possess today. But I didn't know what it meant at that early age. So I have consequently spent my entire life growing into the knowledge and understanding it and experiencing it. So I kind of started the backward way. And so that's been part of the mission that I undertook.
What did you discuss? And I'm talking about, you know, age 5, 6, not older. But did you try to discuss any of this with your parents to let them know that you felt like maybe you were just a little bit different?
Well, I remember I used to run around the house at a very early age, and I would tell my parents all kinds of crazy things. And one of the things I told them is that I knew that I was not going to be on this planet very long, that I was going to die very young. I was here with a mission, and I was here to help mankind, humanity. And they would just look at me and kind of, yeah, okay, yeah, whatever, you know, that kind of thing. But they knew very early on that I was kind of different. I had a great deal of different physicalities in my physical form, blood pressure and temperature and extra vertebrae and all kinds of different things in my body. And, you know, so they knew there was something different that way. And then they also knew because of the way I reacted to things. I was born with psychic abilities, with healing abilities, with empathic skills, and all these different things. And I thought, growing up, that other children and everybody was like me. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I learned very quickly that wasn't true. And as a consequence of my abilities and who I was, most children were frightened to death of me. I spent most of my time alone, and it was very difficult. But you know, I fortunately was pretty comfortable in my own skin, so to speak. So I got used to it. But most kids, they were scared of me.
How did you find out that you had these abilities? What happened? Was it an accident?
Kind of. I mean, every child, every person tests their abilities, their limits, and things like that. It was just coincidences along the way. I would complete people's sentences. I knew what they were thinking. I'd say to someone, "Your stomach's hurting. You're making my stomach hurt." That kind of stuff. And they go, "How did you know that?" And things like that. So there were all kinds of little things along the way. And even to this day, I have to deal with all that.
And were there when you have healing abilities? Do you remember the first time that something like that happened? Who did you heal? What happened?
Oh, gosh! I mean, later on throughout life, I had different teachers, different masters who taught me in different art forms, Reiki and different things, energy manipulation and so forth. But there were things that I could do. Younger, I was very naturalistic. I loved animals. I loved nature. And there were times when I would find an injured bird or an injured snake or things like that, and I had the ability to nurture them and in many cases to what appeared to be heal them. Now, whether or not it was passing energy through them or acting as a conduit, I couldn't 100% say. And even to this day, I don't claim I'm the healer. Mm-hmm. All I do is act as a conduit. And I channel the energies of the universe and energy around us and allow the prime creator to do their work.
What?
So, but I have healed people from cancer. I've healed people from different maladies. With purpose, and the healings take, but it's a very, how would I put it, a very tenuous thing, because I have learned that unless a person truly wants to be healed, even on a subconscious level, they have to want this. There's nothing that I or anyone else can do. I can attempt to heal, I can send the energies, but unless they truly want it, there is no healing that's going to take place.
That's fascinating. Can you turn it on and turn it off?
I can turn on my abilities to do such, yes.
Right.
But as far as my empathic skills, feeling other people's feelings, their thoughts, things like that, no. I've only been taught to control it so that it doesn't drive me crazy.
Right. I can only imagine. It's almost a burden, I would think.
Well, growing up, it was kind of like hearing 1,000 radio stations in your head all at one time.
Well, I wouldn't know what that is like.
Fusion and stuff, and it was hard.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when did you start to put together that this was an off-world thing? Do you remember your first contact of communication and realization that this is actually what was going on?
No, it didn't quite happen for me that way, but I did know, as I said, internally that who I was, where I came from, and just to backtrack a little bit to that funny part of that story is that I had volunteered to be part of a group that was sent to Earth some 60 years back. I'm 62 now, and we volunteered and trained to come to the planet Earth as part of a vanguard force, essentially the first wave, if you will, to try and help humanity to wake up to what we're going through now, which is the disclosure and all the things that, is really on the forefront, what's on people's minds, on their lips most often. And so this is part of what we've been working towards. So there's been other groups that have now come in on top of those groups. And but it never came as I would have just a particular contact that would wake me up. What happened most often in my life would be the situation where total strangers, people that I'd never seen, known, or otherwise, would come up to me and say, "Hey, you're not from here. You're different." And they knew, and they would tell me this, and I would look at them like, "What planet did you fall off of?" Like they were out of their minds. I just couldn't quite grasp that or accept that, even though I knew it inside myself. Now, is that to say that I was trying to be humble? Is it to say that I was fooling myself? I can't honestly say. It took me 56 years of my life to finally accept that and realize that this is what it was, this is who I am, this is what I was sent to do. And so, it wasn't the kind of thing that just happened overnight. And even though I have had other experiences with UFOs and have been abducted by not-so-pleasant ETs, grays and reptilians, which I definitely don't want any part of, and the problem was that I was such a fool, I asked for it. I didn't know any better. I wasn't smart enough to make the differentiation at that time in my life. But I have the marks and the pains to prove it. So, you have to be careful what you ask for. You can get it.
Right. And with everything that transpired since then, of course, one would think NASA, but Honeywell, your laser business, and I'm fascinated with the speaker technology, and the speakers look amazing, by the way. Do you think all of this is connected?
Yes, absolutely. I have been driven since the moment I was born, Jimmy. There is never a minute, a day that goes by. For me to work 12 or 16-hour days when I was younger is absolutely nothing. It was a breeze. Of course, getting a little older, I'm slowing down a little bit, but I actually ran both of my businesses and worked at NASA full-time, all at the same time. And so I've kind of semi-retired now. Run the businesses. It's not that they're huge or anything and that we are overrun with any kind of work or orders, but they're there, and we do offer the services or the products. It does take some getting used to, but when you're driven to the point where nothing else matters, for me, learning and knowledge is the only thing I've ever desired. Granted, I've been fortunate to have a reasonably good IQ and to be smart enough to do things, but I've always lived. I guess my adage is that I don't know the meaning of the words "I can't do this" or "I don't know how to do that." I've never had that constraint, never placed it on myself. And so if I wanted to do something or needed to do something, I just did it. And, so it's all in how you think about it.
With your time both at Honeywell and NASA, did your coworkers know anything about your contact or your research? Did you discuss it?
No, I kind of kept that a little bit on the down low, doing that kind of stuff. When you're in those kind of positions, you got to be a little bit careful. I did hold top secret clearances for DOD and different things for NASA, and worked on secret projects and so forth to some degree, and developed certain processes and so forth for the Space Shuttle. But there are some people that are maybe your closer friends you might talk to, and you'd be surprised just how many people have actually had actual physical UFO encounters at NASA. But it's the kind of thing that is not necessarily talked about as much as one would think. There's always the people are pretty afraid of losing their jobs or otherwise. Now, I was probably more vociferous about things like that than most people, and am today. But, you had to be a little bit careful.
And what about the flip side of that? Did you share any of your knowledge of what was going on with the Space Shuttle or NASA or laser technology or anything like that back with ET? Were they interested in what you were working on?
No, not really. Most of the stuff we were working on is just, pretty benign compared to where they're at. You've got to remember you're talking about races that are anywhere from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of years or even millions of years in advance of us.
Right.
Interest in, what we do as humanity and the consequences of our actions, say with nuclear materials and bombs and things like that, missiles, etc. Their biggest concern is for our safety, our existence. But, and they do, I believe, at certain points in time, pick certain individuals to actually help or impart some knowledge to advance humanity. There are many individuals throughout history, I believe, that have been helped in such fashion. Tesla, to name one, who happens to be one of my heroes. But they don't generally just jump in. Their biggest thing is to the non-interference directive, and everybody out there is going to go, oh, God, here we go with the Star Trek non-interference directive, but it's basically the truth. They will not interfere in human free will.
And what about what's going on now with North Korea and all of their nuclear testing? Are they concerned with that? And how? I'm wondering why. I've been talking about this for the last couple of weeks, why they haven't run interference in on North Korea and Kim Jong-un. Oh, around here we call him Kim Fatty Fat, by the way. That's our nickname for him.
I love it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you the truth, between you and I, the guy scares me to death.
He does. But, he scares me.
Will they actually step in and do anything about it? Probably not. They have done everything. They've made every effort to talk with certain government individuals or even certain governments of certain countries. Almost everyone has had their opportunities, and most of the time the government turns them away and says, no, we're not interested. And you can go back to the accords and the pacts made with the Greys and all that kind of stuff that we got technology instead of healing the planet and giving humanity everything that we could have ever possibly dreamed of if we would only set aside our nukes, but we wouldn't do it. So they actually, they watch, and of course they're concerned, but they really would not step in to do anything. If we wanted to destroy ourselves, they're not going to stop us. However, they will stop or take action if we are going to destroy the planet, because the planet is a living entity and is part of an entire system and systems, and that represents a balance and an energy and a force throughout this local part of the universe. And that affects a lot more beings and entities than just people on Earth.
Yeah, I've often...
So they can't allow that to happen.
Yeah, I've often thought about that aspect of it, because we know with all of our findings of the different exoplanets out there that, finding an Earth-like planet is tough, right? Water, perfect, the Goldilocks zone, all of that. That's rare. There's plenty of them out there. There's probably tens of thousands, if not, millions of Earth-like planets in the universe. We know that, but it's still rare. It's the only one in our solar system, and I don't know how many are in the Milky Way. So it would be in the best interest of ET to make sure that this beautiful planet stays a beautiful planet and doesn't turn into a radioactive nightmare.
Yeah, a wasteland, absolutely. Because we often do not think before we act, and we are definitely setting ourselves up for demise.
And
there's a great deal going on here. It's not just Kim Jong-un. There are other Kim Jong-uns to take his place, even if he were to leave or be eliminated. So, it goes very deep. And mankind is a party animal. And as long as things are moving along pretty good, he doesn't stop to pay too much attention.
Nope, I've used those exact words. Right now, we're still a little immature, man. It's like we're 20 years old in college and away from home for the first time. And that's really the truth. That's a really good way to look at it, Dale. Our guest tonight, Dale Harder. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is truly bespoke radio for the masses. Now, more with Dale after this. And when we come back, we got to go straight to all of the Pleiadian information that he has. And we'll do that right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Hello, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly Ancient Life Oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go Beckley Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product. What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring 2 Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hard shell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The 2 full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tappy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Dale Harder. 45 years of research, Pleiadian contact, which goes back to his childhood. And where I would like to go now with Dale. Dale, how did you find out that it was the Pleiadians that may have brought you here, but also who they were? What happened there? Take us through that.
As I said, I had those memories from childhood, and as I said in that story before that I had volunteered for all of this, one of the funny aspects of that is that at the point where I was on the ship and literally on the way to Earth, getting ready to assume my physical form here, because we couldn't survive in a Pleiadian full form here for any length of time. So we're all getting ready to leave the ship, and my time comes to get off, and I've changed my mind. I said, no, I can't go. I'm not going. And they literally pushed me off the ship. That you volunteered, you've gone through the training, now get the hell out there. So I remember that much of it. And I have always had, and you say after I got here, and I remembered some of those details, I've always had an affinity for the Pleiades. And every time I would look at the night sky, and I loved looking at the stars. I mean, I've been a stargazer since as soon as I could see the sky. And I always gravitated to that particular star cluster. And when I looked at it, there was something inside me that always said home. And I would lay for hours on the side of the hill on our big farm. We actually had many thousands of acres in Tennessee. And I would lay on the hill there looking at the stars at night, and I would just gaze at that and just dream about being out there and knew that's where I belonged. So I've always known, but there was, could I prove it to you or that kind of thing? No. It's strictly a personal thing.
Okay, so was there ever a direct communication? What I'm wondering is, have they been able to tell you exactly what star in that star system that they are from and planet?
Well, I know that I hail from the planet called Era, which is around the star called Tegeta. And I remember that part of it. Now, here's the funny aspect of it, is that even though that I know that I came from there, and I was many hundreds of years old when I went on this mission, I do not have all the information. I don't know exactly what the extent of my mission is today. And many times I ask my brothers and sisters, when I called for the ships and so forth, I said, come on, it's time. I need a family reunion. I would like to meet face to face, just as families here on the planet. Sometimes there's the only thing that will cure an ail or an inside need is family. And so I said, why couldn't you just stop in, give me a little talk, let's meet, let's talk for a while. I need to clear some things up. If you want me to serve, and that's what I'm here for, then I need some more confirmation. But that still is yet to be forthcoming. So, they have not been, should I say, real cooperative in that area. And sometimes it's a little frustrating. But I continue to do, the best that I can, continue to serve all of humanity on a daily basis, starting with each individual that I come across every single day.
Do you have any memories of the planet? What was it like?
I do not have a lot of memories of it. I know that I have a wife. I know that I had a family. I do know of Pleiadian existence to an extent. The Pleiadien as a being are considerably higher in frequency than humankind are. They are basically, we are them. They are the closest thing to the being of the humans. That's where humanity comes from. Even though humanity actually has 12-stranded DNA, only 2 strands are active at this time. Mm-hmm. And we have basically about 12 different ET races that have contributed to the human DNA, which is what makes this planet and our people here unique. But they are most concerned with us because we are the closest thing to them and vice versa. So they feel responsible for us. They watch over us, and they have that connection to us.
When you say higher frequency, would we be able to see them if they were here?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But a lot of times their ship, we call them the light craft, they do take physical form, but a lot of times people will see what looks like the plasma balls or the light craft. Mm-hmm. And those are typically Pleiadien. And what it is a craft is basically phased. They they ride the curtain between physical and astral, or physical and higher frequency. And that it requires less energy than it does to completely materialize into this low realm. The existence on this planet, the frequency that we occupy, is about as low as you can get. And it affords a great deal of experience on this planet, and that's the reason so many beings are here at this time, to experience that. But it does take, for example, I can't go on to a Pleiadian craft for any length of time because my frequency is too low. It would literally kill me. And they can't come here and stay for a great deal of time or a length of time as full Pleiadien because their frequency is too high, and again, it would take its toll on them. So there's a compromise. And that's the reason I had to go through a birthing process and take a physical form to exist here. And that makes me the hybrid action. But the soul and the energy that animates me, who I am, hails as Pleiadien. So,
well, that star cluster, as we all know, is about 444 light years, right? Right. From Earth. That's a horribly long distance. How How do they get here? Do you know how technically they're able to actually, leap that kind of distance?
Well, it's a process that what it really comes down to is that humanity has not yet realized that time, space, and thought are all the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what they do is they, in the physical craft, like the craft that Billy Mayer was talking about. And I used to talk with him. I wrote him letters. I spoke with him. I saw a lot of the materials and stuff back in the 80s. And I do believe that his contacts in the early stages were real. What I think happened later on is that certain aspects of that group got involved, and it became more of forgive me for saying cultish kind of thing. I can't think of the right word at the moment.
That would be the correct word.
They kind of led it astray, and so there was a great deal of effort on other people's behalf to kind of push the truth to the side and make it something that it wasn't.
Money.
But the original contacts, I believe, were quite real. And so those were craft in physical. But what happens is that they can take that physical craft, which in a lot of cases is a living entity. That's the type of technology that they possess, and others. And this living technology literally bonds with its cohabitants, and they start off to assume up to the speed of light, and at the point of transition of speed of light, which is a very difficult thing to do, we won't go into all the details, but they literally convert themselves into thought energy. And in that instant, they instantaneously can be anywhere in the universe, and then they pop out of that point close to where they want to be and literally have to decelerate then from light speed. So it takes a literal time to get up to speed and time to decelerate from speed, but the actual travel, the distance, is no time at all.
The memories that you have being on the ship, or a ship, I should say, is that the process that was going down as far as you know?
I'm not quite certain I understand your question.
You traveled here on a ship. That was your memory. And so that's what I'm referring to. Was that the same process for you to get here?
Yes, it was. But I, being who I was and just a group of people on board the ship, we were not in control of the ship or otherwise. It's literally something that happens. It's kind of like the captain is steering the ship, and if he turns right or left, you're not totally aware of it, but you know that something is happening. So it happens throughout the entire ship instantaneously.
Right. Now, you mentioned something earlier. I want to jump back to this. It kind of blew by me, which is fascinating. So you had a wife, you have a wife, a family. Yep. You have everything there. So were you part of like a space corps, right? The Pleiadien Space Corps, where, it was,
I can't honestly answer that. I don't know. I really don't know. I know that Pleiadien in general, because of when you get into the higher levels, say the 4th, 5th, 6th levels, as they call it, and that's not dimensions necessarily. Mm-hmm. It is levels of energy, levels of frequency, levels of existence. When you get into the next levels where Earth is headed now, where humanity is headed now, and where we hope we're going to end up, we literally will be at a point where there will be no lying. Everyone will know everyone's thoughts all the time. And we will also be creators in the sense that anything that we desire, think, or wish to create is created instantaneously. So you literally have to be of the, how would I say, you have to be able to control your thoughts, able to control your being, and be very careful what you create and how you create it, because there is nothing that is held back, and there is nothing that anyone else does not know. So as you move higher and higher in frequency, as you become lighter and lighter in etheric realm, you begin to lose all of the things that we have here. You see, if mankind were able at this point to produce everything that he thought of or desired, imagine what the consequences would be.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Dale.
No problem. So, like I say, it does take, that's the reason it takes so long to ascend, the reason it takes so long to become in control and aware of what we are. But that is exactly where humanity is headed right now.
And we're going to get back to that. I have one other question, then we'll move on. The transition from being 100 or hundreds of years old back there to here and into an infant's body, what is going on there? Was your conscience, yourself, your id, transferred into another child, or were you that child that was transferred? Am I making sense? Yeah, I think.
Well, I understand kind of where you're going, what you want to get to. In other words, yes, Pleiadien can have physical forms, but we don't have a physical form that is so dense as one would believe here on Earth. In other words, it's kind of like if you see a ghost, okay? A ghost has physical shape and form, but is not so heavy, not so dense as to be in the physicality of this third level and dimension that we occupy right now. So taking that ghost-like person or energy and smashing it into a little ball, if you will, and putting it inside a human body or person is a very easy thing to do. It's essentially the same as, when we talk about the soul entering the body. When does that take place, et cetera, and there's been so many arguments about that or otherwise. But it's the same kind of thing. So the body is created, it is a vessel, right, and then the soul enters in.
And it sounds like, because you have a different vertebrae count and some other physical differences, that your body, your baby self, was placed here. Would that be because did you ever find out who your real parents were?
No, I have no clue. Right. I have no actual blood relatives on the planet save my daughter.
Very interesting. So your baby self, do you think it was actually brought here?
Yeah, I believe that I came in my Pleiadien form, and that form was then transmitted into a child that was left and given at that time. So, whether or not I took someone else's place or it was a blank slate and I went into that,
right,
I don't know all the details of that.
Yeah, fascinating. And do you think that the if that was the way that it happened, I understand that you don't fully understand either.
Yeah, I don't fully know or remember all of those details. And they tell me, they say, well, some things we've blanked out, you don't need to know, or, if you knew every detail, it would prevent you from doing your job. And I says, well, that's a bad answer. It's a cop-out, essentially, to me. But, I can understand some things are better left undone. So I do remember maybe more than I was supposed to, but I knew enough to know, and it has helped me to deal with what I had to do. But like I said, it still took me 56 years to accept it.
Sure. And do you think the baby you, for the lack of a better description, please, do you think the baby you's DNA was altered slightly, for the vertebrae count, the other, to explain for the other physical differences?
There were certain differences. They say the average person's temperature is 98.6. My average temperature is about 95, 95.4 on a typical day. In fact, it was measured today, and that's what it was. So.
And what about blood?
It's not much, but it is a difference.
Yeah, that's extreme. What about blood? What kind of blood type are you?
I don't know.
Okay.
And even with having a couple of relatively serious operations in the last 2 years, every time I go in or have anything done to me or otherwise, I ask them, what is my blood type? And they always come up with some silly answer, we didn't test it, or we didn't check it. Or they say, you cannot do an operation on a person like you've done on me without having whole blood on hand, just in case. And they still come up with this, we don't know. And so outside of actually literally going and trying to have a blood test done, which I've never bothered to do,
right,
I simply do not know.
I'll tell you something really funny. I don't know my own blood type. I got in a car accident, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 5 years ago. Go to the hospital, right? Ambulance, do the whole thing. And I get there before my wife got there, and the nurse or the doctor comes in and asks me a question and asks me my blood type. And I don't know.
Right.
I
it's been the same
don't.
to me, Jimmy, and it's exactly the same thing. And to this day, to this moment, even after the hospital testing today, I do not know what my blood type is. And every time I ask, I get a pat weird answer, and there's no reason for it. So one of these days, I suppose if I'm curious enough, I figure it really doesn't matter. But if I'm curious enough, I'll go and have it tested. My big thing is I'm scared to death of needles. I'm a wuss.
Yeah, that makes two of us, and I'm fully with you. Now, let's. You also just mentioned again. We're trying to pack a lot of information here in a very short show, which is normally a long show. But when we have this much to cover, I can see us running out of time. You said that you don't fully understand what your mission is.
Exactly.
So I want to handle that. We're going to head towards a break here. So I want two sides of that coin answered. What do you know about your mission? And B, what is it that you think that you don't know?
Okay. Do you want me to think about that, or do you want to try and go into it now?
Yeah, let's do it right now.
Okay. Well, part of my mission, I guess I have always known, is to do my best to help humanity, to help all of those that I meet that are interested, that are open to it, because I never, ever wish to interfere with anyone's beliefs. But if they're interested, I help them to understand the possibilities of what's around them and above them and outside. You see, humans here some of them have a very strange idea that we're all alone, and this is all there is. And, so those that are willing, those that would like to know and are interested, it's been part of my job to help them to understand that that's not the case. And so my adage has always been, I don't care if anyone agrees or disagrees with me. That's fine. Everyone's entitled to their opinions. What I want most from people is for them to pull their heads out of their rear ends and their cell phones and take a look around and learn for themselves. Dig for the truth, because to borrow the old X-Files adage, the truth is out there. And that's what we really need right now at this time when planet Earth is going through so much. And while I know the reasons for that, it's difficult to help people to understand that.
Now, and the other side of that question, which was, what do you suspect that your mission may be? Do you think that there's something else, part of it, maybe a covert part, maybe something that's hidden in your DNA, something that'll be revealed in the future? What do you think about that?
Yes, perhaps so, and I certainly hope so. I ask my brothers and sisters all the time to allow me to work with them on the ship at night and to let me serve here during the day or whenever they need me. And there have been times when I have been taken on board the craft, and I will get up in the morning and know that I was gone and remember partly what I had done or where I'd been. But it does not happen often. The majority of the time, they will wipe my memory or others. And when I ask them for the reason for this, is they very bluntly state that they don't want people to get a big head. They don't want people to think that they're the chosen ones or anything else. Mm-hmm. We simply need to work, do our jobs, and move on from there. And I said, well, it's not really fair. I'm one of you guys. I know what's going on. I don't think I'm going to get a big head. I haven't yet, and I don't think I will, but I would really like to remember and know. Now, I came in, I thought, I had always hoped that, if I was given the smarts that I was given, that maybe I was supposed to do some grandiose thing to try and help or forward humanity. Maybe it was to discover new biotechnology or new laser technology or new energy technology or what have you. And, I've always hoped that would happen, but it hasn't so far. I've worked with a lot of people on a lot of different things, and I'm currently doing so with others in the UFO field, people who you've interviewed as well. But things haven't happened to that extent yet.
What do you think about the possibility of something, when I say covert, that you had a direct mission, that there was something you were to run interference? And the reason why I asked is there a possibility of them knowing the future? Is time travel involved here?
Yes, they have the ability to manipulate what we call time here. Of course, as you and I both know, there is really no such thing as time. The actuality of reality is that past, present, and future are happening simultaneously. And we have to come up with a method on this level of existence to explain it or to try and understand it by labeling it as time from point A to point B or that type of thing. But they do have the ability to move forward, backward, upside down, any which way they want. And so they know full well what it is I am to do, and that's why I keep saying, would you please come and talk to me? Would you tell me more about what you want me to do? And then, like I said, I got the last time I talked and we spoke, I got this pat answer of, well, if we tell you too much, it's going to destroy, what you have to accomplish or do, and will interfere with your own karmic duties, et cetera, et cetera. And I says, no, that's a bad answer. I don't want that. Right. But, so if I get a little bit unhappy, then they kind of back off. And they, so I just kind of have to go with the program and wait for them to either direct me or make things happen.
We're going to head to a break here. I have to ask you this. Do you ever sit down with yourself, having your morning coffee, and go, you know what? I'm going crazy. This is just too much.
Many times.
And how do you ground yourself at that moment?
Well, I have to look back on all the things that I have done in my life, accomplished in my life, what I have been taught, what I know, and and it takes also some very good friends around me who understand and accept me as I am, and they help to keep me grounded, as well as my wife. My wife, who is the most wonderful person in the world, but as zen as they come. And I have a couple of wonderful stories I've just got to share with you when you come back.
Sure.
And a couple of ET sightings and different things if you're interested, and tell you about her and how that helps to keep me somewhat grounded.
Is she a contactee too?
She has seen the ships, yes. Do they affect her? No.
Sounds like my wife. Very interesting. Okay, yeah, let's take a break right here, Dale. And when we come back, I want to know about the ships. I want to know about the last time you were there. I also want to find out if it's physical, if you're physically on the ships. We'll answer all of those questions. And, of course, your most recent sightings, too, as well. Our guest tonight, Dale Harder. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Twitter is on fire. Nobody knows their own blood type, by the way. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Backley Tappy.
Hi, I'm Matt Ray for U.S. Gold Bureau. I cover the market daily. No matter how strong it gets or what long-term predictions say, you can count on one thing as certain. There will be another crash. It will affect your assets. And when it happens, wouldn't you rather be 2 weeks or even 2 months ahead of the curve? Well, Wall Street insiders have been quietly converting their assets into gold for the last few years. Now it's your turn. Buying gold and silver is easier than buying stocks. With the U.S. Gold Bureau's Investor Guide, it's free, and you learn how to buy precious metals in or out of an IRA or 401k retirement plan. Your investment's shipped directly to your home and is 100% insured and guaranteed. You control your investments and shelter them against the stock market, politics, and unknown threats. Act while your dollar is still worth something. Call U.S. Gold Bureau, 800-885-GOLD. U.S. Gold Bureau, 800-885-GOLD, 800-885-GOLD. Call today.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I want to remind everybody tomorrow night, Damon T. Berry, director of the Knowledge of the Forever Time film series, is going to be here. The film series is now completed. We'll talk about that tomorrow night. And also Wednesday night, Sharon Rose is going to stop by, and we are going to do a full night of history and education, ancient Egypt to India and the divine feminine. Okay, so get ready for that Wednesday. And then Thursday, full week here. Thursday will be open lines with John Rappaport. Friday, I'm over a coast. Saturday, I'm over a coast. Sunday, I'm going to sleep in till about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And then, of course, we'll kick off another week of Fade to Black right after that. Our guest tonight is Dale Harder. And Dale, I want to address one thing directly, which I found very interesting about you. You don't do any self-promotion on the subject. You don't have a website. You're not selling a book. You don't have a TV show. You know what I mean? All of this is not for profit or for any celebrity. And that's a very interesting approach to all of this, in that it's unique. You know, everybody's got a book to sell. But you've chosen to go the other way with this. Why is that?
Well, being, given who I am and that I was sent to serve, I believe that the knowledge that I possess, the abilities to help, if at all, I offer freely. We give freely, just as my brothers and sisters do. The gifts that they give, the ability to reach others if they wish, is all given in love and is all given freely. Right now, as long as I've been in the UFO field, and of course there are some wonderful researchers and people in that field, many of whom I have the pleasure to know personally, but I am not interested in fighting over who gets top billing. I'm not interested in how much money I get or if I get a limousine when I do a lecture or fly in or otherwise, that kind of thing. Am I interested? Yes. Do I attend the like CITD and so forth, Contact in the Desert? Yes, I do. Will I lecture? Yes, I do. And yes, I will. But I don't care so much about the pay for it. If I had to do something like CITD, say they invited me to lecture, I would take the money as far as the travel expenses, but the rest of it I'm not interested in. I don't make my living at this. Mm-hmm. I offer it freely. And I think that, you get to the point where you start doing it for, you make your whole living at it. And it may or may not be the right way to approach it. So I've taken the low road, as it were. And if I do lecture and get monies or things, if I cover a cost for gasoline, that type of stuff, but generally I give that money back. We'll give it to the club or give it to charities or things like that.
Well, it always that approach, which is rare, but it is totally commendable, and I totally respect that. Now let's back up. Let's get to the fun stuff. When you say that you've recently visited a ship, is that physical? Are you physically removed from terra firma, and you're on that ship in your Dale Harder physical self?
It is more of an astral self. As I said, to be able to function on that level and higher realms of frequency, and it is more of a non-physical self, as it would be an astral projection or a taking on that way. And you remember it as you would probably the strongest of dreams, if you will. A lucid dream. And it is as lucid as it can get. But you do physically have the sensations, remember it. You may even feel your body in your bed bang around or whatever. Sometimes I come in obtusely and hit hard and that kind of thing and will wake my wife up. Sometimes I even scream. And, it's kind of freaky. But, it does happen. It does not happen to me often, but it has happened. I would like to have it every single night, and I may, but for my, as far as I know, I do not.
So your wife doesn't come in and say, "Where were you all night?" You don't have that issue.
Exactly. Right. No, she takes this stuff with a grain of salt, really. It doesn't bother her at all.
Okay, so tell me about your most recent visit to the ship. What does it look like? Can you smell things? What's on the walls? Tell me about it.
No, I don't have any recollections of stuff like that. It seems to be that type of thing is removed from my memory or from my abilities relatively quickly. If you got me right at the moment when I came out, I can probably tell you. But it's like having a really, really, really lucid dream. You remember it for a few moments, and then all of a sudden you start thinking about it. And when the monkey mind gets in the way, that's when it disappears. There are times when I've had feelings of it, and I get flashes, and I remember, it's a brightly lit area, but it's not the kind of a light like one would expect from a light bulb. It is very nondescript. It is very, how would I put it, subdued but bright. And it does not appear to emanate from a place, but all around. So the lighting is different. The colors are very, very vibrant. They almost seem to be alive. Other beings and so forth, we see each other, we recognize one another, and have physical forms and so forth. But it is on an etheric level, a different kind of level. It's even hard to put into words physically. But it is the closest thing to, I would say, if you were astral traveling. Because when you do so, you have the ability to see, but you can see everywhere simultaneously. You have the ability to hear what feels like hearing, but you hear as if you had no ears. It's just a knowing, and so it's not a physical sound like we get here. So it's a very different thing. And the best way to explain to people, to yourself, is that the frequency, vibrational frequency, if you were to look at water, for example, when we freeze it, we reduce the frequency. When we boil it, we increase the frequency. But it's still always water. All right? So the same thing happens with beings. As we raise our frequency, we become more vibrant in light energy and lighter etherically. So our physicality is different. And this is what the Grand Masters and various people like Buddha could do. They would change their frequency levels. They could literally teleport, move objects, telekinetic, etc., etc. And it was all because of being able to change that frequency. Most of the humans, including myself, have not fully learned how to do that. So that's the process that we're in right now.
Are you able to point and ask questions? Like, I would, right? But what is that for? Were you able to see any type of equipment or anything technical? Can you ask questions?
No, I have never done that during the times that I'm working that I know of. It's kind of like if you just go in and you're doing a job or you're in the middle of an operation, so you're assisting the doctor or you are the doctor. You don't think about those kind of things when you're doing your work. It's just you're there, you do the work, and you move on. So I don't usually recall it in that fashion. Mm-hmm. I wish I could, because I would like to know those kind of things. But I think that, like I said, to a degree, we're supposed to forget it. We're not allowed to remember it because it could interfere with how we function here.
Now, what would be the purpose of going onto the ship? Are they intentionally showing you something, instructions, maybe a presentation of some kind? And are there others like you that are there too as well?
Yes, there are others. There are thousands of like me that are here on the planet now, and many are not necessarily Pleiadian. They are either, they can be from Arcturus, they can be from Sirius, they can be from Andromedan. There are many, many, many races that are visiting the planet currently. But most of those beings are here with benevolent intentions and are here to do everything they can to help humanity to grow and to allow us to take our rightful place in the universe with our brothers and sisters. So there is a limit to what we can process and what we can know here, because, like I said, it would interfere with how we actually live. Now, I keep complaining that I would like to know more,
right?
But they know more than I do at this point, and so. But I keep saying, well, I'm one of you guys. I need to know this, and they keep saying, not yet. There is a time and a place, and they will tell. So it does get a little frustrating. So it's kind of like having a puzzle with 1,000 pieces, and you got 694 pieces, but you don't have the rest. And so sometimes it can be a little bit difficult.
Do you walk down the street and recognize somebody, or have you been recognized?
I'm recognized all the time. Like I said, people will come up to me just out of the blue and tell me, you're not from here. They know I'm not from here, and they recognize it. I've even done this with friends around me and had it happen several times. And the other people, their mouths just drop, and they go, what was that all about? But it does happen, and it happens frequently. Now, whether or not some of these beings are other individuals from different places, and then, some I don't recognize at all, but they do often do it. And that's what I said was part of this process over the last 56 years that finally got me to say, okay, look, if this is the case, then I have to accept who I am if I'm going to do anything about it. Now, I've always been doing it kind of involuntarily, if you will, but now I'm committed to it, and that's the difference.
Do you have night vision goggles?
No, I do not have night vision goggles. But when I go out, now a lot of people do look at the craft and can see them at different times with night vision goggles. But when I go out and call my folks, I literally just sit down and go into a very quick, light meditation and extend my thoughts into the universe, wherever they are, and literally touch the ships. And when I get to a certain point, if I, for example, close my eyes, I'm thinking, I see an outline of a ship or a ship very plainly comes into my mind, I know that they're there. I can actually feel them before they even show up. And then when they do show up, they have very specific protocols as to how they will answer or get a hold of people. For most people that have not been contacted as much or otherwise, what they generally will do is produce what I call, for lack of a better word, a flashbulb. So if you're outside at night, you've got a nice little sky, and you're looking at the stars, that kind of thing, and all of a sudden out of a dark space, you get this flashbulb, just whoosh, and it's a point source, like a photo flash bulb would be. Mm-hmm. That is typically one of the ships trying to contact you. At that point in time, you simply relax, be not afraid, be a little bit open-minded, say, I'm open to the contact, I greet you in love, please talk to me. And they will return the flashes or whatever they wish to do. And the more that you do that, the more open they become with their contacts. But they absolutely, positively will not come if you are, one, in a bad mood, had a rough day, are in a low-level feelings or thoughts, or are frightened. They will not come at all because they don't wish to frighten anyone, and they won't allow that to happen, so they just absolutely refuse. They do have the ability to allow themselves to be seen in a group of people where several people can see them and others in the same group standing there cannot. They absolutely can choose who will see them and who will not.
I've done it. I've done it in a group setting. You are 100% correct.
Yep, I do it many times. And I've had many, many people come to my home. I will call the ships come, and if they're in a playful mood, they do different things. I use a laser sometimes, and I'm very, very careful. I can't iterate that enough about using lasers in the sky, especially if there's any aircraft at all. I do it at hours of between, say, 2:30 and 4 in the morning when the airports and the traffic is very light. They typically kind of quiet down because it is dangerous. And you never, ever, ever want to take the chance on harming someone, or getting yourself in trouble for that matter. So if there's a craft anywhere in the sky, do not use a laser. But when it is a good time, and I generally am pretty good about that, I will use a laser as a point of contact, and I will flash around a ship, not at it. That's rude. But around the ship, a couple quick flashes, and when they return the flashes, you give them 2 and they give you 2, or, vice versa, that kind of thing. That's how they initiate the contacts. You know darn well that you're not looking at an asteroid or a meteor or anything at all like that, or an aircraft, because those things don't answer back, And that's when the folks around me all realize, whoa, there's something else out there. And your life kind of changes at that point in time.
It is. It's an epiphany. It's a crazy thing for anybody that hasn't done it. And Dale, let me tell you, we talk about it on the show all the time. We've done tons of night vision, and we've done lots of it. I've had some extraordinary sightings. But those that haven't done it, and they hear me talking about it on all of the shows that I do, you don't have a clue. It is a truly life-changing thing. The first time that it happened in a group setting when things were going off and I'm watching planets appear and what I think are planets. And Rita and I, we walked away from that, Dale, pretty stunned. It was very difficult to talk, and it was totally fun. Now, I wanted to ask you this, though, because this is the one question that I can't answer. With all of the extraordinary things that I have seen, I don't know if I'm looking at a physical craft, something built out of, something that you can touch, or if these are interdimensional or plasma, or if these are light, light. I don't know. What is it that we are seeing when these crafts appear?
Well, in my case, I have seen all manner of craft, Jimmy. They have come in classic saucer shape. They have come in spheres. They have come in very elongated wedges. They have come in what look like a pill shape. And these are all physical craft, and I can see them as physical craft. They have a dark black or a light gray or silvery kind of appearance, and they definitely are physical, and they have the lights on them, or they will come most often, as my people do, with the light ships, and they're kind of phased. And they do that for, like I said, for several reasons. Not only the fact that it's easier for them to cruise in between those levels, but it's also a little more difficult for people on this planet to interfere with them and be caught by radar, to be attempted to knock them out of the sky with scalar waves and other things that our certain people here have. So it's a little easier for them to cruise in that fashion. So they will pick their times absolutely when they come and how they interact. But if they're in a playful mood, there are times. There's been times when I'll draw a circle in the sky with the laser, and they'll jump it through it like a hoop, and people just see that and they absolutely are blown away. There are times when they come for me, and I do this most of the time for myself. This is my contacts. I don't need to prove this to anybody. I don't need to write MUFON reports about it. Never have, never will.
Right.
These are contacts for me that are necessary for my being, for my purposes. So I only allow people to share in those because it helps them to see we're not alone. There are other things there. There are other beings in the universe, and we're not alone. And to not be afraid, and that is the reason I choose to share it. But, it's kind of like if they were to land in the backyard tonight and come in and have dinner and this, that, and the other thing, and we had a grand old time, how in the world would I be able to tell anybody? How would I be able to show them? Even if I had pictures, nobody's going to believe it, okay, not unless they experience it themselves. So that's the reason I say these are the contacts for myself, even for my own UFO club. I relay these sightings to people or even share them with some select few, and they come and see for themselves, which has been the case. But it is not a point of, oh, look at me, I'm special, or this, that, and the other thing, or, hey, I'm the UFO caller. I do this for their benefit, not for my gain.
EJK just posted in Twitter this question. Jimmy, please ask Mr. Harder if he had trouble with his fingers early in life.
Trouble with my fingers? No, not to my knowledge. My physicality has always been, up until the time I was 50, I never knew what it meant to get sick or anything whatsoever. I was absolutely a perfect specimen, if you will. And after that, and even till now, I suffer a great deal with other maladies and so forth. And I was told by my folks that the reason is that, as I said, when I was young, I wasn't going to be here very long. I literally asked to stay longer and to serve, and they agreed, but the consequence of that was that this physical form was only designed to be here for a certain length of time. And as a consequence, the physical form is deteriorating. So that was the answer that I was given. So I take it as that's what they said, that's what I got.
Now, you talk about benevolent, and largely that is what's going on, different races and species that are here. But what about the bad guys? What do you know?
Whoa. Well, the bad ones for me have always been the Greys and the reptilians. My beliefs and information would support the fact that the Greys are basically the minions, the majority of them. There are about 12 different species of Greys, actually, but the majority of them are the minions of the reptilian. And the reptilian caste has been and is, at least presently, to a major extent, in control of this planet for about 350,000 years. So it is they who are controlling what we would call the cabal, and in turn, the cabal being the upper rungs of percentage, you're talking maybe 0.05% of population, that control the entire planet, and have made most of humanity subservient with what we would call the Babylonian money magic system.
And what do we do about that?
We fight it in every way that we can. And what I can tell people, the best thing to do is that right now we are seeing all kinds of crazy weather. We are seeing all kinds of changes on the planet. We are seeing all kinds of problems politically. And a lot of this stuff has been generated to keep people off balance. All right? Because humanity is really great at creation and creating things. So what we focus on is what we create. And as long as they can keep us in the dark, keep us focused on negativity, they will maintain the upper hand. What we have to do here is get the majority of humanity, at least 57%, and we're just about there, to the point where we all can sit together, wake up, and stand as a united race and say, hey, we really do need help, and ask for it as a race, as a community. All right? And at that point, it no longer is a violation of humanity's free will. That's when our brothers and sisters can come in and help. So that's the point that we're working for. That's what disclosure is all about. That's what all the super secret space programs have been keeping from us. We've lost literally 100 years, and all the technology and the things that are there have been kept from humanity for that length of time, at least 75 years worth. So we've lost a great deal, and we should be so much further ahead than we are. But Gaia is a living entity, Mother Earth, and she has got to move forward. We are passing through the Alcyone energy right now, the photonic energy from the Alcyone sun is connected to our sun, Sol. And as we pass through those photonic energies, this planet is moving into the higher realms. And it is going to continue to do so. It cannot wait any longer. And there are going to be people that are lost here. But those that are ready will go on, and those that are not will leave.
We're going to be headed towards a break here. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I just jump in? I didn't mean to. Do you you remember the song Convoy by C.W. McCall?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, do me a favor right now. Just say Breaker 19.
Breaker 19.
You're C.W. McCall, man. It's funny. You've got. I'm watching Twitter here, and everybody was trying to figure that out. I think we just did. All right, now when we come back, let's take a break right here. And when we come back, I don't know how much of this you can answer, but we do have to discuss NASA and what they know and some of the revelations that have been going on lately with all of these exoplanets and ET contact and everything else that is going on out there in the world. And I'm going to hit you with a run of questions when we come back. Our guest tonight, Dale Harder, 45 years of UFO research. It's been a fascinating conversation. That's why this is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. We'll be right back. More with Dale Harder right after this short break. Stay with us.
Hey, what up, y'all? Sugar Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. Get the T.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. Get the T.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our Super Tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Tepe.
I'm Matt Ray with America's First News. We all know if you're planning a trip, you should shop and compare, right? But why endlessly search the web when you don't have to? Flight Services helps you find the lowest possible airfare. Talk directly to a travel pro right now for the best deals available. Their travel pros have additional discounts not found on websites, and Flight Services provides 24-hour customer service. Call toll-free 844-845-9944. That's 844-845-9944.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129, and use the promo code JCRTWS, and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I haven't seen Twitter. Well, it's like this every night, but it is smoking tonight. What a great conversation I'm having with Dale Harder. And Dale, what I wanted to ask you, with all of your years at NASA, and of course you have your stuff in the closet that is going around in the background. What was the chatter like at NASA when it comes to UFOs and ET?
You know, that, like I said, that was a subject that wasn't often broached on a daily basis at, say, NASA Lewis or any of the particular centers. It's the kind of thing that just isn't talked about that much. You know, I mean, everybody had their thoughts or their ideas, I guess, but it really didn't come up that much in the 12 years that I was there.
What do you think
there are secret things that go on, of course, but they are not related, at least shall I say, the daily or the average NASA that everyone is aware of, where any of that kind of stuff is talked about or comes up.
What do you think they know?
Oh, well, here's the rub. Is the average NASA, the face of NASA that everybody sees, that everybody knows about, all right, they really do not know about the other part of NASA that exists. It's like the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing kind of thing. So when you're talking about the secret space program and the secret side of NASA, it is not even so much that it is part of NASA, but it is separate entities such as the Alliance, the ICC, and the Solar Warden projects.
And were there, and I understand about the left-hand, right-hand aspect of it. Everything is compartmentalized. But did you ever hear any chatter in the lunchroom about other projects that were going on? No, not to my knowledge. And I was a fortunate individual in that my jobs and different things that I did for them allowed me to traverse just about the entirety of the base. Now, NASA Lewis, from what it looks at the outside, is not that big, but it's actually a very big place. And there are 3 levels below ground. All the buildings are connected by a tunnel, and everything is nuclear hardened. There are even certain areas, or were certain areas at the time, that were protected by military, and their orders were shoot first, ask questions later. So it just depended. But, so the average stuff that is there is worked on when military we were working on propulsion systems for Atlas Centaur, Atlas Agena. We were working on ion thrusters. At Lewis, for example, everything propulsion was done there. So Mercury ion thrusters, xenon thrusters, and the very first research work or heavy research work for superconducting magnets was done there. Niobium tin and exotics and mercury and so forth. So a lot of that research is done there along with shuttle and the shuttle propulsion systems. So Lewis was actually part of, or is part of, and connected to every launch that went on at Kennedy, all the way from the early days of Redstone all the way up through the shuttle launches. Did with all of the sightings that were going on with the Space Shuttle, and there's tons of STS-141 and so forth. What about that aspect of it? Were those ice crystals, ice particles, and from what you have seen and your knowledge of the shuttle program, was that ET, or was that just anomalous debris that was floating out in the atmosphere?
Well, let me start off by saying, first of all, that everything that I state here, especially regarding NASA Lewis, or any of the NASA systems, is entirely my opinion. I do not speak for them, about them, or otherwise with their
Consent.
Exactly. Okay. It is my conjecture, my opinion, etc., to which all of us have and we're entitled. But in my opinion, there are a great deal of things that were seen and have been seen by many of the astronauts who I did get to talk to and did get to question and asked questions and so forth. And like Dr. Edgar Mitchell, for example, who runs or started the FREE program, FRE, along with Dr. Ray Hernandez, who I actually support and work with at this point in time. So there are many who have seen things, and, of course, they were under orders not to talk, and, so that's pretty much the way those kind of things went. But if people take a deep look into that, I think they will find that there is a great deal under the surface. NASA has not always done everything they could to hide every detail in every picture, but there have been a lot of things that were airbrushed and touched out and so forth and so on. At least from what I believe, what I think I've seen, what I was told. But do I get that directly from them? No, not a chance. Not a chance.
Well,
there's that we see on the videos,
right.
that people are watching all the time and stuff like that too. But there's definitely craft there that have been seen and have interacted with our craft.
We all know about Edgar Mitchell's position on the ET situation, but you say that you've spoken to other astronauts. Did you talk to other astronauts about the things that they may have seen?
Yes, over a period of years and times, I've met different ones and spoken, yes, including Werner von Braun, who I met twice and spoke to directly about it. How he knew what he knew and how they were able to do what they did and so forth.
No kidding. And what did he say? What did you ask him?
I actually asked him the same question that you hear others ask, and and I was a young guy, and I asked him, I said, Dr. von Braun, I said, tell me, I said, how did you do all that? How did you know that? And he said, where did you get all that knowledge? And he said, we had help. And I said, what do you mean you had help? He said, we had help from ETs. And, it just blew me away. And, it's like he readily admitted that. Now, I don't know how many times he did that, but I know what he said to me. I know what he said to others,
Right. I've often thought there's two ways to look at that. Either he's saying it in jest, or if he's saying it literally, then we've got a situation here. So with you, was there a smirk? Was he joking about it, or
he was deadly serious because he knew I was serious?
Wow!
And at the time, that was 1973 when I met him the first time. Now he passed, unfortunately, in 1978, at least according to what they said. But I do believe that he had a great deal to do with the secret space program. He was very disenchanted with NASA and left them on not so great terms, and I think that he got involved in some of the secret stuff there, and even helped to make those programs happen, because he had so much desire to go much, much further and much, much farther and faster than we did, at least what was publicly known.
Let me ask you this. The stuff with von Braun and that influence and that help may have been over in Germany, but what about over here? Have we backwards engineered, like, for instance, the crash at Roswell? Are we backwards engineering that technology, ion drives?
Yes, in my opinion, yes. I will say always in my opinion. I can't just come right out and say certain names and certain people and pin them down, without their consent. But yes, my understanding and my opinions, yes.
And now let's stay on this track, but go off just a little bit. With all of the black triangles, which I have seen, I've photographed one.
Yes.
With all of these black triangles and this different technology that we're seeing out there, could be our military, it could be ET, I don't know. But is that evidence of us using their technology?
It is, in my opinion, both. I have actually seen a TR-3B myself. In fact, I had one come right over the house and sit on me on purpose as it approached from a farther away easterly direction, heading from east to west. It literally saw me. I was sitting where I normally sit at my home. It turned and came at a 45-degree angle to come right over me and sit there. So they full well knew that I was there. And but I, as much as I see those, I don't pay too much attention to them, because they are our technology. They're nuts and bolts. That's Northrop Grumman. That's Boeing. That's the ICC. And so it is definitely not ET craft. It may have possessed some ET technology, but it is not an ET craft.
How big was it, Dale?
This particular one was so big that when I looked at it with my binoculars, which were 7 by 50, that when I looked up, I couldn't see anything but craft.
So
it was huge.
Yeah, that sounds huge.
I would estimate it was a minimum of 150 on a side, if not 300.
Did it make noise?
Not a sound.
Do you think it was anti-gravity, or do you think it was a conventional propulsion system? Like jet engines or fans or something?
No, there were no jets or anything like that. It was probably the typical Mercury Taurus, which is the high-pressure mercury, vaporized mercury rotating, and that reduces 90 to 95% of the craft weight, and then they use conventional types of thrusters, very quiet thrusters on the corners, one at each point, typically to do the lift and push.
And what do you think is going on with all of the sightings that we're having now of exoplanets and this constant these press releases on communication and fast radio burst and alien megastructures around planets? It seems like this type of conversation through the mass media is going on now on a weekly basis. What do you think is going on with that?
Well, I will say this much. I surmised as much as you surmise. I bet that we both agree here and that we know that we're being drip-fed. Okay, and you can see what is happening here as far as disclosure is being concerned. Dr. Greer, of course, is working tirelessly, as many of us are, for the disclosure project. And the sooner disclosure hits, the better it's going to be for all of humanity, even those that can't accept it. Some are going to jump out the window. It's all there is to it. It's going to be like, the stock market crash. But the rest of us have to move on, and it will present some awesome things for us when it happens. So it's a drip feed right now. We're getting people into that position. Most people on this planet can accept the fact that we're not alone, or that they believe that there's other life out there. With over 4,300 exoplanets now currently on the books, with more than 600 of them being in the habitable zones, maybe 123 being Earth-like at the current date, that's quite a number. So looking at those equations and the Drake formula and the whole thing, it literally comes down to billions of planets in our Milky Way alone. And, every day we get a little bit more. If you remember, we go back a little bit of the ways and think about Mars, for example. It was, for the longest time, Mars was absolutely dead. It's barren. It's lifeless. It has no atmosphere. It's got no water, blah, blah, blah. But before you know it, well, guess what? We think we've found remnants of life. We think we found some fossils. Okay, guess what? Well, we think there's water ice. Oh, guess what? We think there's a little more than water ice. There's water vapor. Oh, now guess what? We've got flowing water on Mars, and on and on and on. And every week or every few months it's a little bit more, a little bit more. Now we know we've got atmosphere on Mars. The sky is not necessarily just orange like the planet. It is actually blue. And then you talk to people like Randy Kramer, who you and I both know very well, and what has happened there, and on and on and on. So they are drip feeding us little bits at a time, preparing humanity for the fact when one of these days they're going to go, guess what? We're not alone, people. And, I wish they would get off of this drip feed thing. For me, it's become a real pain, a real source of pain. I want to see this happen, hopefully, in my lifetime. That's the only selfishness that I have at this point. I want to be here. I would love to be here to see that happen. And that would be reward enough.
Now, what about the abduction phenomenon? There's two aspects to this. Some of it may be voluntary. Some of it may be not. What is going on there? We're talking about millions of people that have had these experiences. It's certainly beyond imagination. It's not an act of imagination. There is something going on here.
They are, and they do happen. My understanding currently of it is that most of the Greys have been responsible for performing the abductions. There have been other races that may have been involved to an extent, even the Nordics or the Whites or the Pleiadien. But generally, those are done with a permission. But the Greys are not. And I tell people, I say, you can protect yourself. You do have the right. You are a sovereign entity. You can refuse, and you can invoke the light, and perform, a protection ritual, which in most cases will deter the Greys. They have to answer to that. But they are essentially a chimera, a programmed life form, and they work for the reptilian. And a lot of that has been under the authorization of MELAB, and they have done a great deal of experimentation on humanity and manipulation of our genetics and so forth. As I said, there's that 12 strands of DNA, and that is starting to wake up. All right, and if it does get activated, that's what they're scared to death is going to happen, because humanity will wake up, and we will take our rightful place, and we will raise and essentially ascend to the higher levels. And that's what the reptilians don't want to lose hold of, because we are their food, we are their energy. As gross and horrific as that sounds, I have more evidences and contacts and people of that than I can possibly share with you tonight. But it is to the point where there are times when they literally eat human beings, to the point where what we do is we produce negative energy. And our negative energy, as David Wilcox says, is called loosh, and it supplies them with a nourishment. So that's we're like a commodity, essentially like farming. And, so this planet has been under that kind of control, that kind of constraint, and we need to get away from that as soon as possible.
Can we be abducted and not even know it?
Most people are. Most people are. Now, again, going back to that idea of the abduction, the information that I've been given was that a great majority of the Greys and the ETs that are doing the abductions have been barred, have been chased away, literally forced out of our solar system. And a lot of that has to do with some of the actions of the secret space program and certain aspects of what those individuals are doing to protect us, as well as protections from races like the Blue Avians. So they have supplanted the Greys and stopped a great deal of it. So the constant inundation of abductions from the Greys has been greatly curtailed. Now, there are certain members of the Grey race that essentially are supposed to be good ones, but between you and me, and this is not to be mean and not to be other than a loving being or a serving being that I am trying to be and hope to be, but I myself have chosen the path that if I have to try and sort it out and try and figure out if you're one of the good Greys or one of the bad Greys, I'd rather just avoid you altogether.
I've often wondered, and especially when it comes to the Greys, how do they eat? What do they do? Do they go to the bathroom? And with Pleiadians or all of the Nordics, are they artistic? Do they listen to music? Do they like to paint? Are they creative? Do they play sports? Do they have hobbies? Or are they just beyond all of that?
Well, the Pleiadians definitely have those kind of things. I mean, we certainly love, we certainly feel, we certainly share, we certainly procreate. In fact, sex is something very loved with Pleiadians. But it is all done on a much different level, and it's very hard to describe or to put into words those kind of things that happen on those higher levels. It is all done, everything is done in the name of and with the name of love. And love is not like, the love necessarily between a man and a woman, or that is used for procreative access here on the planet. All right, love is a state of being. Love is a form of energy. It is a level of vibrational energy in which one lives and performs every single moment of their being. So it is something that we're moving into. In other words, like I said, it's that water aspect. We're moving away from being the dense ice. We've moved into, we're liquid water now, and we're beginning to boil. So we're moving into that higher level of steam, which is lighter, more etheric, and a higher frequency, but it's still water. Okay, so that is where we're headed. That's how the other races live. They live in a much higher realm, and as a consequence. So when you do anything, it is always done in the name of love. It is done without any hidden agenda. You can't lie to somebody because they instantly know everything you're thinking. We all know each other's thoughts. We all know each other's motivations and gains. So we work for the benefit of each other. We serve each other. And that is what humanity needs to work toward. It sounds almost like a form of socialism, perhaps in its purest form, but it is a way of living, a way of life in which everyone is served, and therefore no one is left behind, no one is left out. And everybody lives for the benefit of the whole thing. You contribute what you are good at and what you enjoy. And it's almost like the Star Trek realms and the things that they talk about there. Those things were designed and brought through by a lot of ET contact. Gene Roddenberry, for example, most of his scripts were written when he would sit in on the Council of Nine and listen to the channelings. So a lot of the scripts for Star Trek, which I love dearly, were written that way. So a lot of people don't know that. And the law of one, a lot of things would come from that. And those explain what it means to be in the higher realms.
Most want, disclosure to be, somebody stepping up to a podium in Washington, D.C. and saying, okay, we have to admit something here. I doubt that day will ever come. But what about the opposite? Why don't we have a massive sighting that, a fleet of ships going all the way across the United States from Los Angeles to New York and shown on the news?
We did have that, Jimmy, in 1952 when more than a dozen ships went over the Washington Capitol at least twice.
And it wasn't enough, was it?
No. It's like I said, even if they landed on the yard and got out, it would be, the same as the day the Earth stood still. Humanity is still too stuck in our primitive nature. We would shoot first, ask questions later. We're not quite ready to greet in openness. We're afraid. We're afraid of anything we don't understand or know, and that's the hard part. So they can't do it en masse because that would panic everybody, and it would also break free will, which is something that they don't want to do. But if we all stood up all together and said, okay, we're ready, please come, then the door is wide open. Okay? And that's where we've got to get. That's the part we're trying to get to.
I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight. Fascinating conversation. And normally at this part, I would say website, book, when are you, when's your next TV show coming out? We don't have to do any of that. But I will say this. I cannot wait for the next time for you to come on the show. We have so many questions left to be answered. It was fascinating tonight, Dale. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. And anytime you want to talk, I'm here for you.
You got it. Dale Harder, everybody. Man, and Dale, I've nearly lost my voice tonight. That is what I'm talking about. Thank you so much, Dale. Be safe out there.
Thank you, too. You have a great night.
Great conversation. Dale Harder, everybody. And like I said, normally it's Twitter and Facebook and a book. But none of that tonight with Dale. Just the information. Great conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Harder. This is Fade to Black. I'm going to come back, open up the phone lines, and get to some other stuff that we need to talk about. All right? Stay with us. Thank you so much, Dale. Thank you so much. Have a great, safe night.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy
Absolutely.
Church,
Give my best to your wife. Thank you so much.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. Get the tea.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Tepe.
I'm Matt Ray with America's First News. We all know if you're planning a trip, you should shop and compare, right? But why endlessly search the web when you don't have to? Flight Services helps you find the lowest possible airfare. Talk directly to a travel pro right now for the best deals available. Their travel pros have additional discounts not found on websites, and Flight Services provides 24-hour customer service. Call toll-free 844-845-9944. That's 844-845-9944.
What's up, Fadernauts? Studio Dome loves Fade to Black and the F2B audience so much that they have put together the ultimate stereo Bluetooth system. They've done it just for you. Man, check this out. The Studio Dome SBB2 stereo system is here. It's featuring two Studio Boombox 2 SBB2 wireless Bluetooth speakers, packed in its own custom hardshell case. This Studio Dome system features the very latest in stereo Bluetooth technology. The two full-range boomboxes are in true wireless stereo. You've got to hear this. It's amazing. It's just $129 and use the promo code JCRTWS and you'll also get free shipping. It's simple. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the Studio Dome banner. Go Beckley Tepe.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back. Fade to Black. Thank you, Dale Harder. Yeah, man. I knew that conversation was coming tonight. Man is grounded. Thank you so much. Fascinating. And to be not, there's nothing wrong with writing a book and getting your experiences out. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with having a website and sharing with others. Nothing. Absolutely. I encourage that. But to have somebody come on with his credentials and his background and his experiences and everything that he has done for 45 years in ufology, to not be promoting himself is absolutely fascinating. And I just, man, is this real? This guy with the wings That's not real. Stop. It's pretty good. That's pretty good CGI. I'll retweet that just because. I wish that was real. I've often dreamed. It's a little kid with cardboard wings flying around his front yard. That's pretty good. That's some pretty good After Effects going on there. All right, 323-825-5045. Opening up the phone lines, 323-275-9695. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy. It's Les in Austin.
Hey, Les in Austin. How are you?
Good. You know, when he talked about Werner von Braun in the mid-'70s, it reminded me of something that happened when I was at the University of Texas in the mid-'70s. They had a space symposium in the engineering department that I went to, and there was all kinds of different symposiums or things you could go to. I went to the one on UFOs they had, and there were 3 astronauts there from Houston, NASA. They weren't the famous ones. They were the astronauts in training from the mid-'70s. And they showed us at that symposium photographic evidence of UFOs. They made no statements about aliens or anything, but they just came right out and said, this is photographic evidence that we have. Now, this is at the University of Texas at Austin to all of us students and civilians and stuff, and student engineers in 1975-76. And they said, these are objects in space that are not natural bodies. They are things that are doing aerodynamic maneuvers that we don't have the technology available yet to perform. So we know it's not us, and we know it's not meteorites. It was nothing hocus pocus or secret about it. It was right out in the open. So what my point is this is telling me that there have probably been more than 1 or 2 times since the 70s that they were going to do disclosure, and they backed off, because this was back in 75 when I was in my 21 years old. And that's an indication of, hey, they're kind of trying to disclose, getting us ready. And then things clamp down again. It's, anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up.
What you
tell you about it.
Yeah, and you're sounding like they were, I guess what you're trying to say is they were pretty nonchalant about it. They were just showing the pictures and saying, look, the stuff is going on, and here it is.
They were astronauts from Houston. They were there because this was an engineering and technology symposium sponsored by the University of Texas. They were there sponsored by NASA, the astronauts telling us about UFOs. And that's what I mean. So I think there's been attempts at disclosure more than once in the last, that makes it almost 40 plus years.
Sure.
And then the screws come down again and they clamp down on it. For them to tell us as students back in 75 and be sponsored by the University of Texas, it was an academic thing, and to have astronauts there sponsored by NASA telling us this stuff, it is what it is.
Thank you so much for the phone call, Les, and I totally agree with you. They were ready, and something happened. I think they looked at it totally with another set of eyes and attitude, and then just something happened, and they just took that turn, and they took the turn so hard that they can't get the car back on the road.
Yep. Thanks, Jimmy. Great show.
Yeah, thank you, Les. Live from Austin, Texas. Oh, man, I think of Austin, I just think of the food. That's what I do. I'm serious. I think of Austin, such a cool town, and I just think of the food. Love Austin. All right, let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, Jimmy. This is Marilyn.
Hi, Marilyn. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
What'd you think of the show tonight?
It was awesome, and it reminded me of something.
What's that?
It's just a quick little story. So a couple months ago, I experimented with something psychedelic. I know.
Right.
Drugs are bad. But I felt really connected to the sky. And like Dale was saying, that every time he looked at the stars, it felt like home. And when I was experiencing this trip, that's what I was feeling. And it was crazy, too, because, I kind of saw the stars in pyramid form. And I'm not the only one who has seen it like that. But, yeah, I just thought I'd throw that out.
Wait. What do you mean in pyramid form?
Yeah, I saw... Okay, so, while I was tripping, I saw the stars. I looked up at the stars one time, and it was like in a pyramid form. Like, I don't know where in the sky, I can't remember now, but I saw it like that. And then when I saw that, I started to remember the Egyptians and how people worship these gods and blah, blah, blah. And, like, it was weird. It's crazy. But I felt really, really connected to the universe and the stars and everything. It was a really amazing experience. But everything that Dale was talking about how he was connected to the stars, and that reminded me.
Did you do any?
I experienced.
Marilyn, did you do any communicating?
No, I didn't. I didn't even attempt to do that. It didn't cross my mind, honestly.
And well, there you go. I mean, I would have a longer conversation on another night, maybe a fader night. But what do you think about when that happens? Does it open up the possibility for you that there is something else going on out there, and we're just we're not aware of it in a normal state of consciousness?
I think so. I honestly think so. I honestly think that trip really opened up my eyes and made me realize, whoa, I'm not just a human body. I'm a spirit as well.
That's exactly right. Marilyn, thank you for opening up and calling in tonight.
Welcome.
Absolutely. Have a great night. Great phone call right there. Man, I just love the Fadernauts. I love this family. And so because of that, let's stay on the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Yeah, man, this is Brad.
Hey, Brad. How are you, man?
Pretty good. Especially after the show, I kind of came in late and had no idea who was on the deck. And, man, Dale just killed it. I had no idea this guy existed. He has a very organic style to deliver his message, and I just really enjoyed it.
It was a great conversation. And, one of the things, and I'm so glad that you recognize, which is this, first-time guest is one thing. That is great for this show. But a first-time guest also who, is new to everybody else, too, as well. I mean, that's an amazing thing to go through. When I was a kid, and growing up listening to late night radio, listening to the people that we're all familiar with is one thing, and that's great. But I was always interested in somebody that I've never heard of or heard from before. That's where my heart lies.
Yeah, that's what kind of blew my mind. And I, excuse me, I was just, I thought I knew everyone in the scene, and this guy just came in and he had a very just very organic delivery, very believable. You can, feel his heart, and he just didn't have any dead air time. The guy was just on point. He knew everything he was saying. You can tell he was very true from his heart. And, all your guests, they're all like that. But at the same time, to hear a new guy and it just blew my mind. I'm stoked. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can't wait for everybody to listen to this show again. And for those that haven't heard it yet, I'm looking at this picture that you took, that you just posted. And moments like this, they come and they go, and you forget about them. But I got to say, this panel that we had that night, and I'm looking, I can't even believe that this actually happened. right? You have Graham Hancock.
You got Spock, you got Graham. That's the power panel.
That's the power panel.
We're just like,
right?
Power panel.
Graham Hancock, Andrew Collins, Robert Bivall, doctors J.J. and Desiree Hertog, Karl Lehrberger, and Robert Schock all sitting in the same place at the same time. And look at my face. Yeah. I'm looking at, I'm hosting here, and I'm in shock. And that was a 2 or 3 hour panel, and somebody pinched me. Did I really host that thing? Oh man!
You know what blew me away is Desiree. That was like the first time I really got to see him get out there and really, speak his mind. And man, he had more than enough to say. It was a blessing. That last year was just insane, dude. Bottom line, people were coming out of the closet with all their secret intel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. You had Robert Bivall. You had everyone just like saying, look, this is the way it is. I'm not scared to speak my mind. And they came out with some intel. And if you weren't there, ladies and gentlemen, man, you better be there next year, because you might even hear something even more dramatic. So that's all I got to say, Jimmy. You rock. Give Reed a big hug. Let's keep bringing it.
Thank you so much, Brad. And thank you for this photograph and everything that you did that night. Thank you so much, my friend.
Right on, brother. Take care.
That's what I'm talking about, Brad. Great. That was a great panel. The other thing, and if you weren't there, or if you haven't seen or watched the DVDs or the recordings of the panel, there was one thing that happened on that panel that I will never forget. This is my memory of the panel. Is Robert Schock came out of the closet 7 times. Every time that he's, well, I guess I'm coming out of the closet again. And the audience erupting and just encouraging him to come out of the closet a little bit further. It was just so classic. And also, if you notice, right in front of Robert on the end of the panel, if you haven't seen this picture, you can just go over to Twitter right now at hashtag F2B. Go over to Twitter at JChurchRadio. Right in front of Robert, you'll see that's a camera that is sitting there. And he did nothing but take pictures all night long of the panel, of the audience, of everything that was around him. And he was just wanting to document absolutely everything. What's this? No. Okay, I just got this sent in from Renee. Thank you, Renee. Donald Trump Jr., the president's eldest son, has elected to forego protection by the Secret Service. And this is according to senior administration officials. The agency ceased protecting Mr. Trump, who lives in New York City and is an executive at the Trump Organization last week. Mr. Trump, an avid camper and hunter, is said to be seeking more privacy than he can expect with a contingent of agents accompanying him everywhere. It's not immediately clear whether the decision applied to his family. He and his wife, Vanessa, have 5 children. Mr. Trump could not be reached, and the White House did not return any messages. But giving up protection of the younger Trump will provide relief for the Secret Service, which has had its workforce and its resources strained by the size of the Trump family. Wow, that's pretty crazy. And it makes me want to go back and speak about this, which happened also earlier today. Now, through the revelation of what fake news is, and that fake news is out there, and certainly all of the mainstream media participate in it. A lot of the unmainstream media participate in it. We don't know what websites are real, what news is real, what is coming across is real, and how the fake news was pumped through social media on Twitter and Facebook. All of 2016 was a pretty good wake-up call for the rest of the world that this stuff is happening and occurring on a daily basis. Well, one of the things that had surfaced last year was Donald Trump saying that his phones were tapped. And that's an old generic thing to say, tapping of phones, and that sounds so 1950s or 1960s. But nonetheless, that's what he had said and tweeted out and talked about. And all of that was denied. It was denied by the DOJ. It was denied by the FBI. Well, today, one of the news services, which is CNN, I'm about to quote CNN here in a second, which has been pointed out by Trump as being, the fake news network, and certainly one questions a lot of what is out there now in mainstream. You don't know what's true and what's not. So, and for me, it doesn't matter if it's Fox, if it's MSNBC, if it's BBC, if it's Russia Today, if it's CNN. To me, I don't trust anything anymore. I just don't. I never really did to begin with. Well, then CNN comes out with this today. U.S. investigators wiretapped former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort under secret court orders before and after the election. And in CNN's press release, they say, sources tell CNN. An extraordinary step involving a high-ranking campaign official now at the center of the Russia meddling probe. The government snooping continued into early this year, including a period when Manafort was known to talk to President Donald Trump. Now we have a problem here, okay? The problem is very simple. Do we believe this? Do we believe this press release coming from CNN? Does Donald Trump now say, and this is where it gets difficult, does Donald Trump come out and say, see, I told you they were wiretapping me? Now that's where the conspiracy starts, and it's a big conspiracy. It's a real conspiracy, because now Donald Trump is asking us to trust what CNN is reporting. But CNN is fake news, according to the White House. So, and then you go to the other news outlets and go to see what they are reporting. And I can tell you right now, as I am speaking to you, I'm on the Fox News website, and that's not the headline. No, the hurricane's the headline. It's not the third headline. No, it's Georgia Tech. The fourth headline, Fox's evening lineup. The fourth story down, ex-Trump campaign chair wiretapped by U.S. investigators, a report says. So, now, what do we trust here? What do we trust? You talk about a paradox. This is a paradox. And how is Trump going to respond to this tomorrow? The conspiracy of fake news and what to trust and what to believe is paramount. That is the big story. Now, how is this going to be dealt with tomorrow? And with everything out there coming out of Washington, I'm not talking about the White House. I'm talking about the Washington in general, and the deep state and the shadow government and who is controlling what. And for this story to break under the auspices of a secret court order that apparently somebody's got to request this wiretapping. The FBI says they didn't do it. The DOJ says that they didn't do it. Trump says that they did. Was Trump referring to Manafort? Did he know this? I think Trump was saying it was his phone specifically, all of Trump Tower, whatever. But this comes out, and now this feeds the fire. What is actually going on, and who do we believe, and how do we move forward? It is one of the craziest stories to break. Nobody expected this. And now for Trump to be able to say that this conspiracy was going on, I was being wiretapped. See, it was Manafort. They were listening to my conversation. Were they? And this is what's crazy, because it says early into the new year. Was Trump president? Were they listening to, this is extraordinary. Were they listening to conversations with Manafort and Trump after Trump was president? That's nuts. This is potentially huge. And what is it that they found? What is it that was discussed? I mean, on any level, right? Very crazy. Very, very, very crazy days ahead. I do want to thank Dale Harder for coming in tonight. The conversations that I had with Dale, when they go back 45 years, his contact and his memories going back before that, I think that they need to be discussed. I think that Dale needs to get out there a little bit more. Now, I know that his association with the group Free, which is great, Ray Hernandez, all of that is great. But I think that he needs to get out there a little bit more to speak publicly. Coming out on Coast to Coast, he was back on Coast in March, which is great. And on this show now is great. But I think he needs to get out and he needs to speak a little bit more publicly. And I think that his memories and his experience and his message will connect with others out there that may have had the same experiences and the same memories. And the only way that can happen is getting out there publicly. Speaking on this show, speaking on Coast to Coast is great, and it's wide reaching. But I think he needs to interact directly. And I was serious when I asked him that question earlier. Does he walk down the street and recognize? You know, he had said that there were thousands like him on this planet. Has he bumped it? Has he walked down the road? Has he been in a bar? Has he at a restaurant, in a movie theater, and made eye contact with somebody? I think that is one of the more interesting aspects to all of this. Absolutely fascinating. I wanted to go back to the one thing that was said on the show about not knowing your blood type. I don't know my blood type. And having so many people respond back in Twitter that, I thought that I was unique in that. I thought that everybody did know their blood type, right? I guess most people don't. I thought that was fascinating. For you guys to come out on Twitter and say, look, I don't know my blood type either. I thought that was totally interesting because I just thought that I was alone in this and that everybody knows their blood type. And I guess that, not everybody does. And I found that great. All right. I want to remind everybody a couple of things. One, subscribe to our podcast. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on the podcast right there. Apple, Android, just $2 a month. We have over 700 shows there. And also become a Fade or Not. Just go to our membership area. It's simple enough to do. You can go all the way from free. You get the bunker cam on Thursday nights. You get an email to me, and you can go all the way down to a full-on game changer, where you're going to get an autographed hat. You're going to get the T-shirt. The hats are only available to the Game Changer memberships. That's it. They're not for sale. It's exclusive to you. All right? And you get free all of the commercial-free downloadable archives. You can download it, play it back anywhere that you wish. And with that ends another episode of Fade to Black. Tomorrow night, right here, Damon T. Berry. The knowledge of the forever time. All of the episodes and installments are done. The film series is done. Number 8 is in the can. You can check it out free online. You can go to his YouTube channel for Damon T. Berry, filmmaker. It's right there. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Kamarian. Shows produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Jonas. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you, Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, Mark D. Kovar, Fady by Dale, Webmaster, Drew the Geek, Music, Doug Aldrich, Intro, Spaceboy, SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJ Sierra for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Thank you to Dale Harder and everybody that called in tonight. Twitter, off the hook. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be used, rebroadcast, downloaded, copied anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Until tomorrow night, I want everybody to be safe. Go Backley Tappy.